Hello everyone, welcome back. Please comment, rate, subscribe, folks. Comment, rate, subscribe, like the videos. Also share the videos. I want to thank everyone that does like, watch, and share my videos. You folks are the absolute best. Listen folks, there's a link tree down below. Has the link to my social media platforms. Also has a link to my YouTube page as well. Please go down there and get involved. Subscribe to my YouTube pages, turn your notifications. Also follow me across my social media platforms. Talk to me, I'll talk back. And I want to thank everyone that gets involved with that link tree link any way that they can. So with that said and done and put to the side, I've come to talk to you folks today about the New York Jets really getting going in free agency and making some signings, man. We signed Corey Davis, signed Carl Lawson, and we also signed a linebacker as well, Jarrad Davis, okay? So I want to start with, I really want to set this up before I really get into the signings, okay? So early, again, because, legal tampering started, so you started to see teams reach agreements with all these players, right? They started reaching agreements. And the Jets just, weren't out there. We hadn't done anything yet, but the Patriots were making signings and people, I saw Jets fans really starting to there was a little unrest. People were really starting to say things, right? Because everybody was talking about how much cap space we had and we were going to make big time splashes. And then we saw Joe Thuney go to the team he went to. Then we saw Corey Lindsey move on to the team that he went to. And then Jets fans, all of a sudden, you started seeing people talking. Oh, Joe Douglas is this. Joe Douglas is this. I started seeing people even say that Joe Douglas should be fired. I'm not lying, okay? I saw people saying that Joe Douglas should be fired. People were going off on Joe Douglas. He hadn't done enough. This is inexcusable. All these things, right? So time just continues to go on. So we signed Jarrad Davis to a one-year deal for $7 million. That was the first signing. I thought it was a solid signing. He's a backer that's coming in, play with the Lions. He's going to come in here and do some things that we need him to do. Sulla's going to put him in a position, right? But he wasn't a big star. He wasn't the big name. He's just a guy that's going to come in. He's got a motor. He's going to be able to do some things. I said, okay, that's a solid signing. But that's decent. No problem, right? But there were other fans going, man, that's whatever. What about all these other guys, right? And in my brain, I'm thinking, hey, there's still some time. We still got more guys out there, And so as everything just was boiling over, right? People are going crazy. They're talking about Joe Douglas. They were just going off on him all over social media, on all of my timelines, regardless of what, social media platform I was on. People were just going off on Joe Douglas, talking about the front office just being lazy, and they were tired of the way that he handled free agency. And there's no excuses for us to have this much cash, in our bank as far as our cap space, and not utilizing it. And we're just going to sit out free agency. And this team is always going to be bad. And Joe Douglas this and Joe Douglas that, right? And out of the mist, boom, the first bigger signing comes. We signed Corey Davis, right? And then some of the people were like, okay. There were some people that were just like, all right, well, Corey Davis, I like that. And then there were some people that were jumping for joy. So Corey Davis is a guy that I've brought up in the past. Wasn't necessarily one of my top tier guys that I wanted. I've talked about multiple guys, wide receivers as far as my free agency videos. But he was a guy that I mentioned that I liked a little. He's a big wide receiver, physical, a guy that really gets going. We signed him to a 3-year deal, $37.5 million. And again, these are all, agreements. I know some people are going to be in the comments talking about, well, they're just agreements, Joe. Yes, we things happened with Anthony Barr in the past where he agreed and then he moved on. But at the end of the day, we've reached an agreement with him. So you look at Corey Davis. Here's a physical guy. He had 65 catches for 984 yards last year with the Titans. He also had 5 TDs. Now, keep in mind that the Titans are a very run-first oriented football team, and he was run blocking quite a bit out there as well. So here's a guy that was able to put up solid numbers, right? Catching the football, doing his thing at receiver, but also if you go back and watch him during those games, doing those plays as well, he's a decent run blocker too. So that's going to benefit us on both ends, him as a receiver and him as a blocker. I really like this guy. I like what he brings to the table, and again, you put him in a position with Mims, Crowder and Corey is going to be out there with those guys. Whoa, let me tell you something. This receiver core really starts to build and look very solid. And again, there's still guys out there that we can still, go after. Juju is still out there. Curtis Samuel is still out there. Will Fuller, for those of you that like Will Fuller as well, he's still out there. That's a guy that's a burner. I talked about him too. And the big name Kenny Golladay is still out there as well. So after the Corey Davis signing happens, there are some people that's just like, okay, well, all right, Corey Davis, whatever. Well, what about the defense? He's done nothing. There's a lot of corners, and Shaq Barrett is signed, and all these guys are signed. What is Joe Douglas gonna do, right? So I'm saying, I'm telling some people that are hitting me up, hey, have a little patience. Everything's good. We'll see what goes on. There's still guys out there, and then, boom, the next big name gets signed. Carl Lawson is in the building, okay? Now everybody's like, whoa, this is a very good signing, a very solid signing, and it's because Carl Lawson was one of the guys that was one of the better pass rushers coming into this free agency period. It was like him, Shaq Barrett, Trey Hendrickson. All these guys were just mentioned out there, but his name was always mentioned in the top as we talked about free agent pass rushers. This football team hasn't had a pass rusher, like a real pass rusher, in years. Some people say we haven't had a guy since John Abraham. I know some people bring up Calvin Pace and all that thing, but a lot of people say, hey, we haven't had a guy that can come off the line and rush the passer since John Abraham. That was years ago. You know what I'm saying? So we actually were able to, again, reach agreement with Carl Lawson. 3 years for $45 million, and $30 million of that is guaranteed. Now, some people say, hey, those numbers, that's pretty aggressive. Listen, you got to get aggressive in free agency if you're the New York Jets and you want to land your guy. I don't think we vastly overspent at all. I really don't. I thought that this was a very solid signing. And to me, I was surprised because even when I talked about Lawson, I didn't think he was going to leave the Bengals because I thought the Bengals were really trying to position themselves to bring him back because in my brain, he was a must re-sign for them. I thought that they would franchise tag him. They didn't. They actually let him go to free agency and, he moves on from them. And I'm really, really shocked that they didn't bring him back. He had 5.5 sacks for them last year. I think he had 5 sacks the year before. And I know some people look at those numbers. He's had 20 sacks in 4 years. Some people look at last year's numbers and go, well, listen, he was in Cincinnati. That team is bad. I mean, we're bad, but that team's pretty bad too. And to have 20 sacks, in those 4 years and on a team that's as bad as they are, when you watch the Cincinnati Bengals, particularly on defense, he's one of the guys that flashes. He's one of the guys that flash the most on that defense. So he's a guy that's putting things together. He also had 38 pressures last year, which I think was one of the top, in the league. So let me tell you something. I like him, man. I like him quite a bit. I like him being brought in. And again, when you look at the cast of what we'll have on defense, him, Quinnen Williams, Nathan Shepard, Fadu Kasi, and Franklin Myers, that could be, that really steps up. That's you're starting to bruise some things that are formidable right there, especially with him and Quinnen Williams, possibly being put on the same side. Boy, oh boy, we can wreak havoc on, opposing offensive lines and opposing offenses as well. They're going to have to deal with us up front. And again, we finally got a guy that's going to be able to come off the line and absolutely put some pressure on the passer. So I like this signing as well. And again, a lot of people were thinking, hey, okay, we got Lawson. What about Hendrickson? Well, Hendrickson ended up going to the Cincinnati Bengals. They ended up, being able to reach an agreement with him. But I really like this signing right here. So I like the moves that we made today. I'm excited about it. I know, again, there were some people that were not happy early on, but things turned around and, you got to be patient. You got to be patient. But again, there's still more time. There's still more guys out there. Joe Douglas is working. And again, there's a draft coming up too. So seeing what we do in free agency is really going to dictate how we handle the draft. And I think he's positioning us to really be in a very solid situation so that there be tons of options open to us. So I like these moves. So comment down below. Let me know what you folks think. What are your thoughts about the signing of Jarrad Davis? What are your thoughts about us signing Carl Lawson? How do you feel about Corey Davis as well? I know that there was a lot of people that were, not necessarily happy, but then there were other people that were just over the moon. They just love this guy, and I think he's going to be very solid for us. So I like the signing as well. So comment down below. Let me know what you folks think. You folks have a good one. Peace.